they're gone. It's over. It's over. The people are so far gone. They're so far gone. They're still pushing the jab on people. They're scared of the bird flu now. Much of what this channel was and is, it's about talking about what the government was doing. That's really what I started this thing for. It was the mainstream media was running cover for these authoritarian types, and that were really running the entire government of the world behind the scenes with the World Economic Forum, NATO, the World Health Organization. And so much of what I do is about exposing that. There always was a level of so much of it was trying to just give information to people that maybe didn't have the information. And then something just kind of happened, and I started to realize that there's just people out there that they don't want to be reached. And they just believe what they believe, no matter what new information comes their way, no matter what facts happen, no matter how the world evolves behind the scenes. So then it just kind of became like this uphill battle of almost like preaching to the choir type crap, right? Where I'm kind of talking to people who already agree with me, and it sort of becomes like, oh, what's the point? And it also, there was a part that was going, well, people need to feel like there's other people out there that have a brain too, that still have their brain at this point. And then I just kind of was like, what? There's a million people that do that. And I sort of just sat on things. I moved on with other aspects of my life, as you can see, completely different than the last time you guys saw me. And then Charlie Kirk was murdered in front of our very eyes. And that was sort of the end for me at that point. Like I had all this motivation about, not wanting to stick around in this terrible, cold country, Snow India, as some of us call it up here in Canada. Just lost a lot of motivation to be here to begin with. But then you see that, and then you gauge the reaction of people. And I think we all know, again, we all saw the reactions that people had to that.
Clear about this so that you know exactly where I stand. And I will say this with my whole entire chest. There are some people on this app that are sitting there saying, oh, you shouldn't wish death upon any person, no matter what side they're on. Fuck that. Charlie Kirk was a fucking Nazi. He was a fucking Nazi. And you know what kind of Nazi is the best Nazi? A dead one. Thank God that shit stain of a person is no longer in this world. And may his hell be being confronted by every single marginalized person that he hurt. That is what is fucking wrong with you. That does not make me a bad person for thinking that bad people should not be in this world. So, fuck that Nazi. And have a great day.
By the sword, die by the sword. He did say that gun deaths were an acceptable side effect of gun rights.
He had it coming. He had it coming. He only had himself to blame. If you'd have been there.
And if you look at it for real, Charlie would have wanted it this way. He was so for guns, so for the violence, that he died by one. Isn't that beautiful? Rest in peace, Charlie.
That it broke something in my brain that is probably never going to get fixed because of just, you talk about losing faith in humanity. I had already lost like so much faith in people on the left, in these liberal types, especially up here where they're like way farther left than you guys have in the United States. People watching over in the UK probably have a much better idea of how far left you can actually go, because it's very similar as to how it is here in Canada. And that was sort of the last straw, and it gave me the thought process of it's not worth being in these countries anymore. Specifically Canada and the UK. They're gone. It's over. The people are so far gone. They're still pushing the the jab on people. They're scared of the bird flu now. And there's no localized government. There's no provincial government, the Canadian equivalent to state government, that is doing anything to protect anybody anymore. They're not being proactive at all to prevent what happened in 2020 and 2021 and for most of 2022 from happening again. There's the one in Alberta, the chick in Alberta, who's trying to bring back like castle doctrine at least after all the break-ins that happen here in Canada. But nobody's doing what Ron DeSantis is doing in Florida. No, like Doug Ford, who's supposed to be a conservative, is the most liberal cuck that there is. Just a fat liberal cuck. That's all he is. He just does. They run on this idea, and like they run this idea like we're combating the United States. It's like, I'm sorry, but I'm not kissing the ass of the United States. The reality is Canada is in no position to be doing what we're doing with the United States in terms of like this, trying to do like a trade war and yapping, running their mouths about Trump and all these like conservatives and America First people. We're in no position to be doing that. And yet they're doing it, and a bunch of elbows up idiots are just going along with it, not realizing how much it's screwing everyone over. Like, January 1st, they're raising like energy prices 25%. It's insane because we have no money anymore. Because the reality of the situation is that we kind of just need to do what the United States says. And if we just went along with it for a little bit, I'm sure at some point the United States is going to elect some establishment idiot who's going to roll back all the America First stuff. The economy will suffer in the long term for the United States, but maybe not so much in the short term, because it'll undo the long-term plan of what Trump is trying to do, at least from a financial perspective. I'm not going to talk about his foreign policy or any of this other crap, this make Israel great again stuff that he does. But there's at least a light at the end of the tunnel for that. And Canada, our guys are just like, oh, they're trying to have a dick measuring contest when Canada really, for all intents and purposes, has a micro penis in this trade war. They don't have anything. We don't got it. We don't have it. And it's incredibly frustrating. And that's why the overall motivation of this whole video is to just be like, guys, find a way to get out of here. Find a way to be a contributor. Find a way to make yourself appealing to the United States. Because the United States is not doing what the media is necessarily saying it's doing. It's allowing people to come in. You just have to be worth their while. That's it. Go about it the right way and be worth their while. I know personally, my best friends in the whole world, gone. Out of here. Doing it the right way. Making it work. And everything is just so much better. Minus, missing the people that you don't get to see anymore because you live in a different country. The net positive is just undeniable. And there's just nothing for young conservatives here in Canada left. And I doubt there's anything for young conservatives in the UK either. From a financial perspective, from a culture perspective, from a safety perspective, there's just nothing left for us. It's gone. This country is for Indian people. This country is for people who want to just abuse the system, abuse the socialized programs that are here in this country, which you can argue about, universal healthcare and all that. But when you allow people from another country access to our healthcare system, this is a real policy I'm about to tell you guys about, by the way. When you allow people who have never stepped foot in Canada to have access to our healthcare system, to have access to our welfare system, to be able to get citizenship without ever having to step in Canada, without ever having to pass like a citizenship requirement test or whatever, simply because their son was here for 3 years, was just living in Canada for 3 years, doesn't have to be a citizen, just lived here. And they get to just bring over that plethora of people, move them all into one house, 20 freaking people in one house, and they all have access now. None of them have contributed to the system at all. And a bunch of them are elderly, so they're never going to contribute to the system. They're just going to take from the system. How is that creating a world for younger people? For people in their 20s, for people in their 30s, people trying to start things, people trying to establish themselves. There's no place to establish yourself anymore. So you're a young conservative, what's the point of being here? This country's for people like that. This country is for those old whites, the elbows up whites, whatever that even means. It's for them. It's for young white people who want to virtue signal to their other white friends about how they're one of the good ones and everyone else is racist for not just allowing all this influx to happen. They would so be okay with living in extreme debt and poverty if they get to say that they voted to allow the non-white people to be here. That's it. It's through the prism of race only, and as long as what's happening is a bunch of non-white people are coming in, that's all they care about. They don't care about anything else. They don't care about the rise in crime until they get to say, oh, well, men are this. They get to pull the feminist thing out. They get to go in all these different, they get to sort of pick and choose. They get to talk about how scared they are about walking down the street at night, simultaneously bringing in people from a country whose SA numbers are so unfathomably high that it would make these people's eyes water if they had an ounce of integrity and an honest bone in their body to actually read the stuff and then to then admit that it's real. But they don't do that. There's conservatives in this country. There's conservatives in the UK. There's conservatives in the United States that live in a reality, frankly. There's some that don't. There's some that, have the Star of David waving around and they don't really, they're kind of out of it. But for the most part, the conservatives are the ones living in reality. And then the ones on the left just don't live in the current reality of what the world is. They just don't. They don't. And it's over for us. So just let these countries fail. Get yourself a lawyer, get yourself an immigration lawyer, figure out a way to start a small business or something like that with your E2 visas and all that kind of stuff. And go to a country that's just feasible for people like us to live in at this point. It's the only one left. I would say Poland also, but you gotta learn how to speak Polish, and it's near impossible to get in there anyway. But that would be the other one. But if you're a conservative, male, female, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever, this is just not the place. This is not the country for you anymore. Canada's not the country for you anymore. It's over. So you gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta figure out how to get out of here. And, by all means, leave in the comment section below if you've done it, the way you did it, how to help people do it, because number one, America needs more conservatives anyway to make sure to actually allow that culture to be maintained. And Canada is filled with a bunch of complete idiots and cucks and liberal morons who are more concerned about protecting very, very minuscule amounts of individuals who are not our responsibility anyway, rather than protecting the sanctity of the country for all of us involved, what was promised to us and what should be ours now, as people that are true citizens of the country, whether they're born here, whether you came over here the right way. That's it. I don't know what else. I don't know how else to put it. I just had to get this out. And just see it. I don't know how much more I'm gonna be doing it, but get out. Conservatives need to leave Canada immediately, as quickly as possible. and go to like Texas, go to Florida, go somewhere in like that southern belt, that Bible Belt. Get somewhere there. Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas, Tennessee. Go there. Maybe I'll see you guys around there one day.